Okay, so much of the meditation practice is about the attitude that we have, and the attitude is always one of finding some degree of enjoyment, some degree of purpose on the spiritual path. And starting out, you can feel the sense of refuge that you find here at Jhana Grove. They're having these beautiful surroundings far away, set in a beautiful nature. And you come into this hall that is beautifully set up for us with good company. And there's a kind of beautiful refuge in that. So just enjoying the environment, whatever that environment is. And then from that refuge, you go inside of yourself, and you find an even deeper refuge, allowing all the externals gradually to fade away, and feeling the sense of safety, the sense of being separated from the world, and how delightful that is. And the more you kind of learn to enjoy that refuge, the more peaceful you tend to be as a consequence. So always make this sort of contemplation your starting point, and then you can take the meditation from there. And then to take that idea of a refuge to a deeper level, to encourage the letting go. You can do a variety of things, but sometimes the death contemplation can be very helpful, because in the face of dying, you just have to let go. There is no choice. And so usually death meditation is very simple. All you have to do, if the mind is ready, is to remind yourself that you're going to die, and you can die at any time. And if the mind is ready, just that simple thought, that simple perception is enough to encourage the letting go. But to give you more of an idea of how this works, we'll go through a process of letting go to show you how this can be experimented with and played around with. So to start off, just imagine yourself, you are in a very simple room, you're lying on the bed, there is nothing in this room of any interest, there is no window to see outside, the door is closed, there are just bare walls in this room, and there's a simple bed with a thin mattress, and you are lying on this bed. You have come to the last few moments or hours of your life. Between now and the moment of dying, you will not meet anyone. All you are doing is lying on the bed, waiting to die. What does that feel like? And just take a note of that feeling, what it feels like to have arrived at the end of your life. Now you have to make this real. Remember that death can happen at any time, so you have to be ready now. Now is the only time to be ready. So you are still there on your deathbed. The dying is coming closer and closer. And you realize you have to let go of things. The most obvious things you have to let go of is all the possessions in your life. Even the things that are most dear to you will have to go. Again, allow it to go and notice the feeling. And as the time of death is getting closer and closer, you realize there's more that you have to let go of. You have to let go of all your friends and acquaintances. You have to let go of all your family members. You have already said your final goodbyes a while ago, and now is the time to let go of them in your heart. And again, the time of death is coming ever closer. And you start to recognize that so much of the person you take yourself to be, so much of your identity is bound up with this world. When you leave this world, so much of your sense of self has to be left behind. Your gender doesn't make any sense anymore. Your social status doesn't have any bearing anymore. Your wealth or lack thereof is irrelevant. All of these markers in our society, our position, our family, our job, our education, all of this becomes meaningless. So empty all of that out and see, you can feel that beautiful emptiness inside. Can you feel that sense of lightness and emptiness that comes from giving up your identity to a large extent? It's almost that all that is left is a sense of emptiness and a feeling of the good qualities in your life. That is all that remains. And what a wonderful thing that is, to give up this burdensome sense of self. And you can do this through this dying process. The letting go is far more deep than you had anticipated. So experience that letting go. And as you identify only with the good qualities in your heart, everything else is let go of. You're starting to feel disembodied. And as you get the feeling of being disembodied, you realize you have to let go of your body as well. This is the last thing that you let go of on this remarkable journey into emptiness, moving towards the point of your death. And as you let go of your body in this way, there comes a point when you don't really know anymore whether you are dead or alive. All you feel is this beautiful sense of disembodiedness, moving forward with a sense of good qualities moving on with you. And as you do this, you start to realize that the fear of dying was such a silly thing. It's a beautiful process to let go. It's such a delightful thing. And if this is the meaning of death, then it is a positive experience. And as you feel that positive experience of letting go, you feel a sense of gratitude. Gratitude to all the people who made this possible to you, your spiritual friends, and anyone else in your life. Thank you. Thank you for making this beautiful process happen. And now bring your attention back to your breath again, and just stay with the breath for a few moments. And once again, spend a few moments towards the end just to contemplate the process. Do you feel more peaceful now? Do you feel more at ease? And if you do, why is that the case? What has actually happened? How did the process of letting go happen? What does it mean? How does it come about? Try to understand what is happening here. Okay, very good. Sadhu, thank you. Yeah, maybe a good idea to offer it actually, yeah. Okay, excellent. I don't know, I'm not sure if he's a very good meditator. This one is a bit, looks a bit sleepy here. Okay, this can. Yeah, it's okay. We can have a nice. This is good. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a nice variety, isn't it? Different kind of teachers. We have the. All right. So very good. Someone got a drink for me. That's very nice, isn't it? A very interesting drink. Okay, I'll put it to one side. I will take it, see what happens. All right, so let's get into the questions for this evening and see what we got. So here we go. Questions. Okay, as you progress on the path, do you practice anicca, dukkha, anatta to all formations, or only those beneath your state of consciousness? i.e. stinginess as you practice dana, breaking precept as you practice sila, 5 hindrances as you practice samadhi, samadhi as you practice panya? Or is it less formulaic than this, and you just always allow that contemplation to be at the back of your mind? Yeah, kind of at the back of your mind. Yeah, kind of always there. One of the ways of using this is you can use it in not necessarily relating to the path, as you say here, regarding generosity and sila and these kind of things, but you notice how the world of the 5 senses is imbued with these things. You have to remember that what you want to let go of, that is what you want to contemplate as impermanent, suffering, and non-self. So what is it that you want to let go? Well, you don't really want to let go of generosity and sila, so you don't contemplate that in that way. However, the world of the 5 senses you contemplate in that way. What is that world of the 5 senses? Well, it's pretty much everything around you. Yeah. So whenever you, for example, one of the ways of doing it is simply to look at the state of the world. And if you find that you are disappointed by the state of the world, or you find that difficult or whatever, it's because you haven't fully understood that it is impermanent, unreliable, uncertain. So you see there are wars kind of coming out everywhere. Yeah, that is because of impermanence, basically. Things are not stable. That is the world of the 5 senses. Yeah, all that is around you, everything that you take in through those senses is part of that world. You see kind of environmental degradation around you. That is also kind of part of that world. You are seeing that, and you start to let go of it because you see how out of control it is. Then you bring it into your... So that's kind of the general world outside. Then you also bring it into your more closer world. Yeah, your family, your belongings, things that are more directly yours rather than the larger world. And so you remember that you're going to die. You remember that you're getting old. You remember that you will get sick. You remember that people around you have the same problem. They're also going to die, get old, get sick. You remember that all your belongings are impermanent. All of these things in the whole world around you, all of this is impermanent and unreliable and uncertain. You don't know when it's going to go. You know it's going to go at some point. You just don't know when it's going to go. And so this is the thing. Yeah? So whenever you feel that you grieve over something, or you feel upset about something happening in that world around you, whenever something upsets you because it feels it's heading in the wrong direction or whatever, then you know that you have an attachment that you need to challenge. Yeah? And in this way, that world becomes less and less interesting. Yeah? After a while, you don't really want to travel around the world anymore. Like the question we had yesterday, I want to taste food, I want to enjoy, I want to do all these kind of things. After a while, this is not interesting anymore, because you realize just how incredibly unreliable that world actually is, and how those things are not all that interesting. Yeah? And so you start to let go. And then finally, the last thing to do is to let go in your meditation. Yeah, that's where it starts to become really profound, the letting go. All of these things, by the way, that I'm saying now, really is just letting go of the 5 khandhas, because it ultimately comes back to our perception and experience of that world. So all of this is really the letting go of the 5 khandhas. So the general world outside, our more immediate world, then comes to your experience in meditation. You become peaceful and quiet, and you see how things change and disappear in meditation. That is anicca sanya in meditation. Especially when things disappear completely, when they go to nirodha, as they say in Pali, things end. Ending is a very powerful kind of impermanence. That's anicca, on steroids, if you like. This is kind of the really big anicca. And it's very obvious that things are really impermanent and unstable and changeable in a very profound kind of way. That's why that insight is particularly powerful at that point. So these are the various levels of contemplating impermanence, and all of those are helpful, and they can be done at any time during the day. Whenever something is funny or go wrong, you can see it through this lens of uncertainty, unreliability, impermanence, dukkha, suffering, non-self as well, in the sense that you're not in charge of it. You can't control these things. They happen regardless of what you do. So this is how I would recommend going about this. Okay. So that's number one. Let's move on to the next one. Dear Ajahn, can you please repeat the 6 recollections you mentioned this morning? Yes, I can repeat them. Do you want to hear them as well? No. No, it's not a question of whether I'm able to. You actually want to hear them, I understand. I'm just being silly here. Just being very silly. So, number 1, Buddha Nusati. Buddha Nusati, recollection of the Buddha. Number 1. Number 2, Dhamma Nusati, recollection of the Dhamma. Number 3, Sangha Nusati, recollection of the Sangha, the Aryan Sangha. 4, Sila Nusati. I'm just wondering for a moment whether this was what you are referring to, but I guess it must be. Sila Nusati, recollection of your virtue. Chaga Nusati, number 5, recollection of your generosity. Devata Nusati, recollection of the deities. These are the 6 usual ones. Sometimes you also hear about the Kalyana Mitta Anusati, the recollection of your Kalyana Mittas. It's a bit like Sangha Nusati, but a bit broader than that, bringing in all your spiritual friends. So those are the 6. So I hope that meets with your approval. Okay. Dear Ajahn, you said you recently taught a retreat on right view. Where can we find the recordings? Is it on the BSWA YouTube channel? That was in Sri Lanka. And so they should go up on YouTube eventually. I think you have to Google on the Ajahn Brahmali Society of Sri Lanka or something like that. And I think they will be made available. I think they have their own YouTube channel. I have never really looked at it very much. So I can't really remember exactly how they do their things, but I'm pretty sure they do. Ajahn Brahmali Society of Sri Lanka have their own YouTube channel. They should be able to find it there. I think that's the best I can do. Okay. Ajahn Brahmali with 2 exclamation marks. Okay, great. Thank you for your wonderful teachings. You inspire us. Are there any Aryans in Australia? Lots of metta. The answer to these kind of questions, it's very, you will never really get the satisfactory answer. All I can do is give you my opinion. And then how is that going to help you? Am I right? Am I wrong? I could be wrong. Do I know that they are Aryans or not? Probably. It's very hard to know these kind of things, with any degree of certainty. And so whatever I say is kind of, in the end of the day, it's not going to be very helpful for you. So instead of thinking like that, just watch and observe. You watch and observe those people who inspire you. And if you watch and observe, I've observed someone like Ajahn Brahmali over 30 years. I've been in Australia now for almost 32 years. I've been longer here than any other place on the planet. So I guess I'm becoming Australian now, I guess. I don't know. Hard to know when you're a monk. You don't really feel, you kind of lose your nationality a little bit after a while. But so you just have to observe for yourself, And when you observe someone like Ajahn Brahmali, either your confidence increases that maybe he's an Aryan, I'm not going to tell you what I think, but this is up to you to decide what you think, And then you kind of, because that is the way to do things. That's how you get kind of a sense of confidence, by observing by yourself, by seeing what is there. That is the right way of going about these things. And if you see something dodgy, well, then you have to investigate. Is there grounds for doubt? If you hear dodgy teachings, investigate also. But after a while, you start to either gain confidence or you maybe lose that confidence. So I have a lot of confidence in someone like Ajahn Brahmali, but you have to make up your own mind. Okay. Dear Ajahn, what is the stage of meditation like where the mind begins to become still? What are the differences between the early levels of this and the deeper levels? You said the thinking mind isn't a place to find solutions. Can you kindly speak more about this? Thank you for your amazing teachings and this opportunity to practice with you. You are very welcome. Nice to have you here. Don't know who you are, but anyway, it's good. So the mind that becomes still is the mind where you feel that you are effortlessly staying with the meditation object. So if you're watching the breath, then it's kind of effortless. You're just hanging out with the breath. The mind is not distracted. The mind doesn't think anymore. It doesn't really go to the body. You don't feel other parts of the body. You are just with the breath. That is a kind of stillness. It's a kind of samadhi. Stillness is the opposite of distraction. Distraction means the mind goes to places where you don't want it to be. So this is like the initial stage of stillness. But the deeper stages of stillness is where the breath is still there's a lot of movement there, because the breath moves in and out, various degrees of breath, various stages of the breath, all of these kind of things. So this is why in deeper meditation we talk about this thing we usually call nimittas. And nimittas is like a bright light in the mind, like the sun or something like that. And that is more peaceful, because it's like a thing which it can still vary a little bit in intensity and in shape and these kind of things, but it's much less variable than the breath. And so it's a deeper level of samadhi, where the mind becomes, for that reason, even more peaceful. It stays with this for long periods of time, and there is like almost no other input. Occasionally there will be a bit of sensory input. You might hear something in the distance, or the body may even intrude maybe occasionally, but basically you are beyond the five senses to a large extent. And so then there's a process, that kind of goes through this. You become more and more focused on the breath. The breath becomes more and more refined, more and more joy and peace happening. And then there comes a point when it transitions into the nimitta instead. And then that nimitta develops more and more peaceful, more and more powerful, more and more joyful. And eventually that takes you into a jhana state. That is kind of roughly how the process works for many people. It may not be exactly the same for everyone, but something like that. So the thinking mind isn't the place to find solutions. So the problem with thinking is that it tends to go in circles. It goes around and around. You think the same thing. And after a while, if you observe yourself carefully, it's almost embarrassing the way the thoughts work. You try for the 101st time to think that thought, and now maybe I will find a solution after 100 times thinking the same thing, and you realize, no, it didn't work the 101st time either. And so you put it to one side. And it is a bit like, when you try to remember a name. There's a person that you have to meet, or this person is coming towards you, and you start to panic. You're supposed to know the name, but you can't remember the name. I'm sure everyone here has had that experience sometimes, And you try, the harder you think, the less you remember the name. And then you say hello to them, and you try to skirt the thing that you have forgot their name. And then as soon as you pass them, the name comes to your mind. As soon as you leave them behind, the name comes back to you. Or you just try to remember someone's name, and then you realize, no, forget about it. And as soon as you relax and let go of the thinking, the name, bang, pops up in your mind. And this is this feeling that actually your intuitive mind, when it is very pure, there's no defilements there, tends to bring the answers out on its own. It is there, it is available somewhere in your consciousness. It's just that all the thinking actually gets in the way of that intuition to arise in your mind. And so and that intuition is kind of similar to Dhamma. When you are peaceful and you are quiet, it's like the Dhamma tends to come to you more easily. And that's why you have more insights when the mind is quiet. That's why you understand how to deal with the mind when it is quiet and peaceful. It's like the Dhamma is there, available, guiding you gently behind the scenes. And that's kind of what I mean by nudging the mind in a certain way. The mind kind of just moves in the right way, leading you towards more stillness and peace. So that, I guess, that should be roughly what you were asking, hopefully. And if not, as always, you're very welcome to try again. Okay, dear Ajahn, I really enjoyed hearing about the positive sides of the precepts this morning on killing, lying, and stealing. It brought new meaning to them for me. Good, we're happy to hear that. What about the other two of the 5 precepts? Would the below work? So abstaining from intoxicants, striving for a clear mind at all times, e.g. enough sleep so that I am not cranky towards others. Something like that. Clarity of the mind. Getting enough sleep, living wisely, doing some meditation practice, and being mindful, all of that. No sexual misconduct. Be respectful. I didn't actually mention that. So the idea of the opposite of sexual misconduct basically is also meditation. Because actually sexual misconduct, sorry, you talk about misconduct, not abstaining from sexual activity. Being respectful as possible and minimize sexual activity, So sexual misconduct, the opposite of that is, I guess, just compassion for others, maybe, something like that, because you basically you're just abusing other people to some extent through sexual misconduct, and so having respect for others, as you say, and being compassionate, understanding the destructiveness of that behavior, so compassion possibly. Whereas giving up all sexual activity, as I mentioned before, is more related directly to meditation, the peace of mind and the mindfulness that arises by giving up the coarser aspects of the sensual pleasures. Okay. Okay, dear Ajahn Brahmali, you have said that it is good to be independent, and I agree. However, I fear in the past I have chosen a path of too many superficialities. Okay, can you speak to some of the joys you have found with independence? Thank you, and thank you for the wonderful teachings. Okay. So, independence means it means many things. It means that you become more self-sufficient. Your meaning in life is more determined by your inner mental states and your inner qualities rather than what happens in the world. You learn how to live by yourself and not to be dependent on other people. One of the benefits of that is that even if people close to you die, it doesn't touch you so much anymore. Having been a monk for 30 years, your family members die, you can deal with that fairly easily because you're kind of so used to those ideas as well. And so you have an independence from that. And so the world touches you much less. Whatever happens in the world is more like, okay, it's not a big issue. So that is the kind of independence I'm talking about. The ability just to be happy and be content almost regardless of what happens around you. Ajahn Brahm has that in spades, incredible independence. Just disappears into a cave or a kuti for 6 months, doesn't do anything for 6 months apart from meditating, and he had the Majjhima Nikaya, the middle-length sayings of the Buddha. That was the only book he had. And then he walked on his walking path, and he sat in his kuti, and he talked to the local fauna, the kangaroos and the snakes or whatever. That's kind of what he talked to. Looked at the eagles in the sky, and one day he happened to see a monk, because the monks brought him food every day, and so they put the food in a box, and then would pick the food up from the box. He didn't even have to see the monks at all. And if he had something that needed to be washed, he would put the robes into the box, and he would wash the robes, and they would come clean back again. So he saw nobody for 6 months, except for one day when he could see the monk kind of disappearing after giving him the food. And then he had completely forgotten the name of that monk. He couldn't remember anymore, completely let go of the monastery. That's kind of independence for you. You're just staying by yourself for 6 months. What did he do for those 6 months? He experienced bliss for 6 months. That's what he did. Isn't that kind of cool? 6 months of bliss. That was the Dhamma talk he gave after he came out. 6 months of bliss was the Dhamma talk. And so he hadn't been thinking pretty much at all for 6 months. So something like that. Anyway, so there you that gives you some ideas of what I mean. Okay, I have a question about dreams during the meditation retreat. Since coming here, I've been having very vivid and very busy dreams every night. The scenes keep changing constantly, and many unexpected people appear, even people I haven't thought about for decades. Sometimes I wonder, why is this person suddenly here in this situation? The dreams are not especially happy or unhappy, but they feel very random and constantly moving. So even during sleep, my brain doesn't seem to want to go on retreat. So this is quite natural, yeah, because this is a sign that you are actually resting quite a bit. Your mind is becoming more powerful. That is why you remember people from a long time ago. This is a natural thing of kind of having more mindfulness and having more peace and energy in the mind. The mind dredges up these ancient memories. And so to go beyond that is a good sign. It's not a bad sign necessarily. I would think it's a good sign actually. But to go beyond that, what you ideally want to do some metta meditation before you go to sleep at night. To send out well-wishing to all beings in the world. Metta is specifically said in the suttas by the Buddha to be the way to sleep better, to get a good night's rest. You wake up in the morning refreshed and happy, and then you go back to your meditation seat and your meditation becomes powerful. So that is ideally what you should do. So this is not a bad sign, but ideally you want to go beyond that. Okay, dear Ajahn Brahmali, regarding the question about whether the Buddha is the spiritual friend in this world, if we look at how the Christians and Muslims pay respect or their higher worship, I believe, to their God, i.e. the Father and the Son, Jesus, etc., in Buddhism, who or what in the person or personal context that we believe, is it the Buddha Gautama or the Dhamma, or both? Kindly enlighten. Okay, so so what is it that you believe in the personal context? Okay, so so in the other religions, yes, you believe in a God and Jesus, etc., etc. In Buddhism, it would be more like Jesus. Jesus is someone who lived, and so believing in Jesus basically means that I don't know much about Christianity at all, and so I may kind of lead you completely astray on this one. But Jesus was an historical person. He lived in what is now Israel 2,000 years ago, or 2,000 and a bit, or whatever. And he, so the Buddha is a little bit more like that. And then he gave teachings at that time. And so it's more similar to Jesus. You can't really compare the Buddha to God, because God is a completely different thing. God is something outside of nature. That's how God can create the world, because it's outside of nature, or he or she, or whatever it is. And this is kind of so this is very different from the Buddhist ideas. According to Buddhism, nothing is really outside of nature. Everything is within nature. It's just that we expand the idea of nature a little bit, with rebirth and karma and these kind of things. And so it's more like believing in a person like Jesus, the Buddha. The Buddha was a real person who existed 2,500 years ago. In fact, our evidence for the Buddha is probably far stronger than for someone like Jesus, because we have far more suttas, far more things that refer to his life. Jesus is a bit more, there isn't that much, the sayings of Jesus are very few in the Bible, if you look in the Bible. Again, I'm no expert, but that's my understanding of the issue. So, yes, you believe in the Buddha, you have faith in the Buddha. It's not just a matter of belief. Belief means different things in different teachings. In many religions, belief is more like you just believe, and that belief in itself has its own value. If you believe in God, then that's good, and if you don't, that's bad. And that in itself has very important consequences. In Buddhism, it's more like having faith and confidence in something because you have some experience and you have some good reasons for having faith and confidence. And with that faith and confidence, you do other things. And those other things that you do based on the faith and confidence, that is actually the most important thing. So faith and confidence is only really the starting point. And so the vocabulary is not quite transferable between these different spiritual teachings. So not 100% sure what you're asking, but hopefully I got it roughly right. Dear Ajahn, I thought I would share something in regard to translating Nibbana. The Sinhala word derived from the Sanskrit nirvana is Nibbana. And the everyday term in Sinhala that we still use to say turn something off or to extinguish, like switch off the light, is Nibbana. There you are. Thought it interesting for those who Nibbana might seem abstract. Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? So you still use these words in Sinhala to extinguish the light, turn off the light, you Nibbana the light. Yeah, same thing. Yeah. So there you are. So it means extinguishment, right? It's kind of obvious, and you see that in the suttas. It's talking about the flame going out. Is nibbuto. Nibbuto is also related to the word nirvana, and so you nibbuto the light. Yeah, it's actually at the end of the Ratana Sutta, Yatayang Padipo. Anyway. So, all right. Dear Ajahn Brahmali, what happens after one becomes a Sotapanna or stream winner? As the suttas about Yasa saying he experienced the stainless vision of truth. Does it mean that after becoming a Sotapanna, one will not or shall not have any stains of mistakes, of wrong views, etc. at all? Much metta. No. The stainless vision of truth is that it is a pure insight, not diluted by any defilements of the mind. If there is still any defilements in the mind, you will not be able to become a stream enter because your mind is not pure. When the mind is 100% pure, then it is possible to become a stream enter. So it's the stainless vision of the truth, the complete, full, profound vision of what the Dhamma is. That is what it means. And then after that, you then have right view. You are called a ditti patto, someone who is attained to view. So after that, you know the truth of the Dhamma. You understand the Four Noble Truths. You understand that the five khandhas, what it means to be a human being, is subject to those tilakkhana, the three characteristics, anicca, dukkha, and anatta. You know that through personal experience. And so because you know these things, because you have right view, you are on the path to full enlightenment. There is no turning back anymore because you have seen that reality. And then the path continues to develop. And after a while, all your thoughts, all your perceptions, all your mental content, after a while, becomes aligned with that right view fully. First of all, there's just right view, but your mind, your thinking, and the perceptions can still be out of alignment with that. But the further you develop the Noble Eightfold Path, the more everything gets aligned in accordance with that right view. You think that way, you perceive that way, everything is in that way. Yeah, so that's kind of what it means to be a Sotapanna. You have a right view, you are said to be perfect in conduct. You are Sila Sampanno, Sila Paripunna. Paripunna is like complete, Sila is complete in virtue. You don't really make any mistakes in virtue. If you do make a mistake, you confess straight away. They say that the stream mentor is like if the stream mentor is like makes a mistake, it's like they are picking up a piece of hot coal. If you pick up a hot piece of coal by accident, what do? You let go very, very quickly because you know this is going to burn you. So if you do that by accident, you let go. In the same way, for a stream mentor, making a mistake in sila is like a hot coal. It burns you, and so you confess straight away to let go of the hot coal. This is your understanding of sila. It's actually a very powerful simile when you think about it. And if we can also go in that direction, every small, minor issue, we understand this is hot coals. This damages you, it burns you, it sullies your beautiful mind that otherwise can be very beautiful and pure, and so you let go of it because of that. So these are some of the characteristics of the stream mentor. Stream mentor, another characteristic is that you enter samadhi very easily. You can enter the jhanas easily as long as you reflect on that right view that you have. You can abandon the hindrances very easily because Buddhanusati, Dhammanusati, Sanghanusati, the recollection of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha is natural for you. You understand what the Dhamma is. It gives rise to natural joy. And so that whole process happens very quickly once you are a stream enter, right? So then you enter samadhi easily. If you can't enter samadhi easily, it usually would mean that you're not a stream entry. That's kind of one of the ways of finding out. Okay. Your attendant sits in meditation with an amazing, joyful smile. Hello, attendant. So, yeah, he's a very good attendant, I have to say. It's good. I'm not sure if he's not quite, is he my attendant? I don't know. He's on this retreat like everyone else, yeah, but he does do some duties of being attendant, so he's very good in that way as well. So that's great. Even though he's not an attendant, he still does the duties of an attendant. Isn't that amazing? That's marvelous. Yeah, you just do it out of, out of joy or whatever. If you feel it is wise and appropriate, please ask him to speak some wise and skillful words to us. Okay, well, maybe the last day we can say some skillful words, yeah, and we can leave him in this, because he's kind of part of this retreat. So I don't know if he is interested right now, but maybe the very last day, then we can also get the bhikkhunis, yeah, probably say some nice and inspiring words, and everyone can take a bit more part in what we do. So I'll put this to one side so I don't forget about that. All right. Dear Ajahn, I am so fortunate to be here. Thank you always for your clear and helpful answers. One good change from practice is that I blame myself less. Excellent. That's wonderful. Recently, I made a mistake while helping in the kitchen, and although I felt upset at first, I was able to let it go and return to the present moment. Wonderful. At times, though, I wonder whether I'm simply becoming more generous in excusing my own mistakes, and whether I may stop learning from them. No, I don't. You're always going to make mistakes. Yeah? The problem is that this idea of learning from mistakes is a bit deluding. Yeah? Because if we really had learned from our mistakes, we wouldn't be here anymore. We would have had entered Nibbana a long time ago. And so we learn a few from some of the mistakes, and we make other mistakes, and we forget what we learned previously, and we make them again. Yeah, go from one life to the next one. So don't worry too much about that. It depends a bit on what kind of mistake you are talking about. Yeah, so if it is a moral mistake, then certainly again don't blame yourself, but reflect on why it went wrong. Yeah, why did you kind of say something that wasn't appropriate or whatever? How can I do that different in the future? How can I have more compassion? How can I regard people in a different way? How can I see them as suffering beings? How can I understand them as being out of control, just being kind of acting out of past habits and these kind of things? And then you become more, you learn something. So don't just not blame yourself. It's good not to blame yourself, but also try to learn from those moral mistakes and that you make. It's much easier to learn from those mistakes if you don't blame yourself. Blaming yourself blocks you from being able to understand what's going on, because the blame is like a distortion happening in the mind. Yeah, you become a bit upset and angry. That's a distortion and a bias right there. If you can be cool about your mistake, you can learn far more. Okay. Dear Ajahn, thank you for walking around this afternoon. I noticed how smiley and relaxed we all seemed. This is due to the inspiring, truthful, and practical teachings given by a kind teacher. Thank you to everyone for following as best you can Ajahns teachings. Okay, marvelous. So remember that we have not come to the end of the retreat yet. Yeah, usually on the last day, kind of people write many of these wonderful notes. But actually, it's a good idea to do it now as well. Yeah, I think so, because we need that uplift now. We need to kind of show our metta and kindness to each other. So actually, well done for writing it before the end of the retreat. So it's a good idea actually here. All right. Dear Ajahn, in the Digha Nikaya 29, an impressive discourse at the views of the first beginning and the views of the final end. The Buddha exclaimed to Chunda, rather I am the one who is superior when it comes to the higher exposition. Why is the Buddha blowing his own trumpet? And then Venerable Upavana, who was standing behind fanning the Buddha, said, impressive, sir. Sounds like, what? Sounds like apple polishing? Is that some, okay. Buddha said, the name of this teaching will be the impressive discourse. Yeah, I mean, blowing your own trumpet is like what you do when you don't necessarily have a reason to do it. Yeah, sometimes it may just be the truth. Sometimes things may just need to be said. Yeah, sometimes, you know, if you have a student and you are the teacher of mathematics, and the student kind of gets too eager to know what they're talking about, sometimes you have to say, well, actually, I'm a mathematician, I've been doing this for 40 years, I know the truth here, so, you know, listen to what I have to say, something like that. The Buddha, the point of the Buddha is that he has an insight into reality. Sometimes you may have to remind people of that. Sometimes he says, I am the teacher, you are the student. So keep that in mind, yeah? And so I don't think blowing your own trumpet often comes from the idea of ego. Yeah, and that there's no ego in this. It is used to say something in a particular situation because it is required in that situation. It is not coming from a sense of self. And I think it's hard to understand that. It is hard to understand because we're not used to people saying these kind of things without there being a sense of self. It's hard to really understand how it happens. But I have seen enough to know that that can happen quite easily. Someone like Ajahn Brahm has very little sense of self. You are around him, you can kind of feel it. And yet sometimes he says things that might surprise you. Yeah? Or some of the other great teachers, people like Ajahn Chah, who sometimes say things that seem completely, utterly inappropriate. Yeah? I'm not even going to repeat the things that he said. But when you are around him, or so I'm told, because I never met him, but Ajahn Brahm certainly met him, it's like the feeling you get, everyone is still taking it on board, they're kind of lapping it up, even though in most circumstances it would be considered almost like abuse. Yeah, but because you know where he's coming from and you can feel the kindness and compassion, those words actually are heard in a very, very different way. Yeah, okay, I'm going to tell. Do you remember that story where there's a famous story where Ajahn Chah this was on the Uposatha, the Vesak celebration, I think, and there was a large gathering coming to the monastery, like hundreds of people coming to the monastery. And then Ajahn Chah asked them, how many of you are keeping the 5 precepts? Yes, this is in Thailand, right? So everyone is a Buddhist, so everyone is keeping the 5 precepts, right? Wrong. No one is keeping the 5 precepts. So in this large crowd of hundreds of people, there were 2 people who raised their hand. Yeah? And then Ajahn Chah said to them, you are all the dog excretions. Yeah? and you can say that if you have a certain power about yourself, if you have a certain... You say things in a certain context, in a certain culture, in a certain way, because of your character. Most people can't say that. For most people, if you say that, it comes out the wrong way, and it becomes terrible, and it becomes an abusive kind of speech. So it's kind of very strange how the same person can say, 2 different people can say the same thing, and the meaning and the way it comes across is completely different. And so this is why you have to be careful with making judgments, in this case, about the Buddha. It is the context that really makes it possible, being in the present, that makes it possible to judge whether this was appropriate or not. It's very hard otherwise to judge. In most cases, it would be inappropriate for most people. Okay, dear Ajahn, please kindly repeat your interpretation of the Buddha respecting the Dhamma. How does one respect something impersonal? Thank you. Also nowadays we don't even know what respect means. What is respect? How does it feel with metta and respect? So I'm not sure this dodgy respect coming from you, but anyway. Okay, so my interpretation of the Buddha respecting the Dhamma is that even for the Buddha, there is still some suffering in life, the remaining kind of suffering. And so he is also looking forward to something higher, something greater, which is the final extinguishment when he dies. And that is like the Dhamma for him. The Dhamma points to Nibbana, it points to that higher thing. And so that is kind of what he then respects, because he knows that eventually he will go there. And this is kind of his final release from all suffering in the world. It's just an interpretation, because otherwise the Buddha doesn't really have much suffering apart from some simple things like that. So you are respecting, you are respecting that Dhamma. It's like respecting the suttas when you read them, I suppose. Respecting those teachings that lead to Nibbana or whatever. So, we don't know what respect means. Respect means holding something in a high regard. It means that you honor it, that you feel something is really worthwhile, something is really important in your life, something is special, has a special interest, special meaning, something that is a bit higher than you are, someone who knows more than you might respect them because you want to learn from them, even in the worldly field. You respect someone for their skill as a carpenter, because they form beautiful things out of wood. You respect someone because of their abilities in mathematics, because they can draw out amazing equations or whatever. You can't do that, and so you have a certain respect for them. But the highest kind of respect should be reserved for those people who understand the meaning of life, because they can show you something incredibly important and meaningful. And because of that, you respect them, you listen to them, you understand that you haven't got that. They have something you have, and so you want to lean in that direction and achieve the same thing, and so you respect the fact that someone else has achieved something incredibly worthwhile and powerful. So this is kind of the idea of respect. So this is kind of what people nowadays, too much equality, perhaps too much equality conceit, like we find in the suttas. The idea that everyone is the same. Everyone isn't the same. This is kind of an important point. We are all a bit different, and we are neither superior nor inferior nor the same. We're just changing all the time. The only difference is the aryas. The aryas are superior because they have seen a higher truth, and so they know that higher truth, and so they can teach us. And so they are superior in a certain way. But the remarkable thing is that even though they are superior in a certain sense, they don't feel superior because they have seen through the sense of self. So there is no reason to feel superior. They realize they are like this because of cause and conditions. It's got nothing to do with them, so why should they feel superior? Okay. Ajahn, following a question from last night, is it enough to say, I dedicate this merit to my parents? Yes, you can say that to yourself, or even more personal, I dedicate that to you. Mom and dad, wherever you are, if you're out there somewhere, I dedicate this to you. And if you are not there, then I dedicate it to any other relative or anyone else. I found the following gata, imena punyena upajaya guna anuttara. Acharya, exactly. So this is kind of the, with this kamma, this meritorious kamma, I share this with all of these people, my upajayas, my charyas, etc., etc. Is it better to say it in Pali? No, it is. I think it's better to say it in English. Say it in any language. The main point is that you know what you're doing, that your mind is directed in the right way. That is what matters. Because that is what it seems these beings will understand, And they will kind of see what your mind's intention is. So say it in your mind's intention. Say it in English. It's more powerful when you say it in English because you understand what is going on. With the Pali verse, you may not know all the meanings of the words, and so it makes it less powerful for you. All right. Dear Bhante, What is your understanding of the original mind, eternal Chitta doctrine that pops up in the Thai forest tradition? Is it in line with the right view? Thank you. Wow, okay. Now we are getting into some serious business, yeah? No more holding back here. So the first thing to understand is that the Thai tradition and any tradition, the Sri Lankan forest tradition, the Burmese tradition, all Buddhist traditions are very diverse, and there's a large variety of views in these traditions. And so you find views that do not talk about eternal mind, and then you have others that talk about eternal mind. Yeah, and so if you read the suttas, I would say it is fairly clear that the idea of an eternal mind is not in line with the Buddha. So if someone actually has that view, and you have to be careful to know whether they have that view or not, you have to kind of interrogate them, you have to ask them very clearly, because it's not always obvious. It is not obvious what the word original mind even means. What does original mind mean? Does it mean eternal mind, or does it mean something else? Does it mean the mind that you take with you from a past life, maybe? What exactly is the meaning of these things? And so we have to be very clear about what people are talking about before we criticize that view or whatever. But if someone talks about an eternal mind that has always been there and will always be there, well then, yes, then it is a problem. So, so you have to look at different individuals, find out what they're really saying, and only then can you sort of start being criticizing or whatever. Dear Ajahn, thank you. That's a nice question, isn't it? That's a kind of really good question. Okay, great. Thank you. That's very nice. Okay, put that to one side. All right, so we have come to the last one for today. So this is very good timing. So, dear Ajahn Brahmali, on the Anguttara Nikaya 421, unwell, extracted this afternoon, the phrase, who is more accomplished than myself in ethics? Can you elaborate if the myself in this sutta refers to the I in the idea of non-self, or how to understand this? Shouldn't the Buddha not have I anymore? Yeah, so I here is used in the conventional sense. Yeah, the Buddha says that in the suttas that he uses the word I conventionally because that is how you communicate with people. And so even though the Buddha doesn't have any feeling of I exist, he still uses the vocabulary that is current to be able to be understood. So when he says I, it refers to myself, yeah, me. It refers to this person versus that person, yeah. And whether that there is an ultimate I or not is kind of not the question there. It is about just being able to use language in a conventional way. That is what it is referring to. So that is really all it means. So there you are. So that is all for this evening. So again, I wish you all a wonderful, peaceful, nice night, and then we'll see you back again early tomorrow morning. Okay, so let's just finish off the evening by paying respect to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Arahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami